Hello, my little pretties. What's up? It's your mistress, Michelle Linus here, and today we are going to review the 20th episode of season two of Teen Titans, episode 7 of season 2 of the original Teen Titans, and this is the 20th episode of the entire series. And today, this episode we're going to be explaining is called Transformation. Now, before I get started with this review, I am just going to say right now that there is a show called, if you guys have not heard of, called a show called Star versus the Forces of Evil. They did something as similar to this too, which I will be getting into that very soon. But first, why not I explain, basically what this episode is about. Now, basically, Transformation is about it's basically about a story of Starfire, and basically Starfire wakes up and finds out she has a lump on, like a lump on her head, and she wasn't sure what it was, so she went to Raven, and Raven dismisses it as a zit. But then things started changing. The next day, Starfire grows tusks on her neck. Then her fingernails became long and ugly, and then he started having different cravings. She's then has elf ears. She had scaly skin and big hairy feet. And basically she, is like thinking she's turning into a monster, so she ends up trying to cover herself up so no Titans would see her like that. So she tries to cover it up as best as she can, but unfortunately it fails during the fight with Plasmus. That Starfire ends up running away, even though Robin wanted to talk to her, try to get it out of her, but she was too embarrassed, so she ended up flying into space, where she runs away. Now, she's been going to different planets just to see if she could find, a place where they can accept her species, but nobody wants to accept her. So, what happens then is the Titans build, some rockets on the T ship, and they end up going into space to find Starfire. Now, when they go up and do that, Starfire goes into a planet which I'm not sure what it was called, and she finds this woman who is an alien woman, and she explains to Starfire that she's changing and she's experienced a transformation, and she says she's one of the very few who would transform into a chrysalis. So she basically transforms into a chrysalis, and the woman turns out to be a villain. She transforms into a chrysalis eater, which is a pretty, like, kind of like a spider type thing, but it's a really scary one. So just before the Chrysalis Eater can, kill Starfire, the Titans come and they basically save Starfire. And as soon as the Chrysalis Eater is defeated, Starfire and their friends go home. Now, basically, that's wraps up for the episode about what it is about. And what do I honestly think of this episode? I actually found this very educational. And not only that being good, but I can definitely say the concept of itself is pretty good. Like, basically, this episode is explaining about puberty. I did know that like I said in the beginning, that Star versus the Forces of Evil, they did something like they do something, that is puberty related in, Cartoon Network. Star versus the Forces of Evil did something like that, except Teen Titans, I think they did it a lot better. For Teen Titans, I think this episode did much better than the episode of Star versus the Forces of Evil. But I have no intentions about Star versus the Forces of Evil, because one of them being, I don't know the show. I've never really watched it. Although I might maybe give it a shot eventually. But anyways, that's probably just about it. But anyways, I'm just going to say right now that this episode actually talks about puberty. And this is actually a very educational episode. This is really good for kids. Like, I watched this episode when I was maybe 8 years old, and this is funny enough. I know this is gonna be off topic, but when I was like turning 9 years old, my mom was talking to me about puberty. Kind of explaining what changes in the body that I'm gonna be having. Like right now, I'm 21. But when I was like 9 and 10, I started to hit puberty very quickly. And it's a pretty young age for a girl to hit puberty at that age. Usually girls, hit puberty at, sometimes 12, and even in their teens, like 13 and even, yeah, 13 pretty much. They get their, first period and stuff like that. Now, basically, I find this episode, they did a really good job on explaining, with the puberty and all that. Basically, this episode has Starfire going through puberty. So, basically, no matter how she looks on the outside, Robin tells, Starfire that they're still her friends no matter what happens and what she changes on the outside. She's always going to be Starfire on the inside. And that's actually something I'm going to say. Like, it doesn't matter how you look, as you get older. You're still who you are. Like, you're not going to be, someone completely different when you go through that. You're going to be somebody that you are already known as. Like, for me, since I hit puberty, I pretty much became woman at a very young age. But yeah, that does happen. And this episode is actually pretty good for kids who are about to hit puberty very soon. Like, this is a really good episode for them to teach that. I am going to say now, Star versus the Forces of Evil did that, but it's Muberty. But that's kind of like the same thing as puberty. Well, Star versus the Forces of Evil did a puberty episode, but I have to say this episode did a very good job on teaching that. Like, the concept itself was pretty good of teaching kids and even teens about puberty, kind of, explaining, what changes are going to be happening to you. Like, this is actually a pretty well done episode. This is actually one of the best episodes of Teen Titans I ever looked at and I've ever seen. Like, I really do feel that this episode actually did pretty good. Another thing I could definitely say that I really liked about this episode, well, was the animation and all that. And another thing is explaining, more about, what's going on in puberty. Now this, what Starfire is going through, that's never happening to us, obviously. So it's basically a, well, I guess you could just say it's fictional. So in fictional world, people can just do whatever they like in a fictional world. But I honestly think that this episode was actually pretty good. Now, I know Star versus the Forces of Evil did a pretty good job on doing a puberty episode, but I think this episode of Teen Titans, they do a lot better on it. Now, it's fine if you don't like Star versus the Forces of Evil. I've never watched it, so I don't know what it is about. Well, maybe I might have seen maybe bits and pieces of it, but still. I could definitely say that this episode was actually pretty good. Oh man, I'm a little tired today. I don't know why. I'm just a little tired for some reason. But yeah, I actually enjoyed this episode. I found it to be very enjoyable. I really like the concept of itself to be, pretty nice and pretty good. Now, anyways, yeah, that's pretty much wraps up. And I have talked about, well, this episode is a puberty related episode, and I actually enjoyed it. If you don't like this episode, I respect your opinion. And like I'm going to say right now, this is simply my own personal opinion. And if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to this episode. Now, my final rating of this episode would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's a great concept about puberty. They actually made it, what puberty is, pretty interesting here. Even though they don't go really too much into detail, which I understand. But they actually did a pretty good job on this episode. And even the fact that, what's going on, that's actually really good. And I really do like that. I really do think that that's a really cool idea. Anyways, well, that's pretty much about it about puberty. Anyways, what did you all think about this episode of Teen Titans? Did you like it? Did you not? Also, what would you have done personally to help make this episode a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Channel Lioness. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And like always, I'll be seeing you all later. Peace out.